Alright, interesting development on Denis Villeneuve's new James Bond, the James Bond Reboot. This is an exclusive to Deadline, so that's why we're here. That's where we're going to take a look at it. This is interesting. It's worthwhile following, to be fair. I mean, to me, James Bond, I've liked James Bond on and off over the years. It's an institution, should be a British institution, so, you know, I'm going to follow it and I'm going to do updates on it here and there. The statement here is that they're looking to cast an unknown first and foremost, which I think is actually the right way to go. It's difficult to get a truly unknown actor, but I think it's the right approach to at least try anyway. So let's take a look at this. Please do hit subscribe if you're new here, turn those bell notifications on. And I hope you're all doing well today, quite frankly. It's a doozy of a day. It's a doozy to be alive. So, like I said, Deadline has the exclusive on this. And basically, he's pretty much straight into it when he completes Dune Part 3. Denis Villeneuve is anyway. So scroll through. Exclusive. Denis Villeneuve will embark on the search for an actor to play the world's most famous fictional spy, James Bond, next year when he completes production on Dune Part 3. To me, that also signifies that Dune Part 3 is the end. That's what it says to me. Like, they're not making any more. Now, that's not... It's not like a radical, you know, epiphany. He pretty much said he wanted to make 3 movies, but I think that just clarifies that that is probably going to be done after that. So, I know that's just speculation, but whatever. So, those familiar with the matter tell us that the director and his collaborators are seeking a fresh face to take on the 007 mantle in Bond 26. Okay. Also, James Bond will be male, as written by creator Ian Fleming, and importantly will be an actor who hails from the British Isles. Yes, they want a Brit to play Bond. Now that doesn't mean a white Brit, right? And that does matter. It does matter, because he is like a white Brit. That is what he's supposed to be. But it's good that they're keeping him a man at the very least. I don't think... I'm not going to say like woke's over in sort of Hollywood and Amazon and series, because this is Amazon now, isn't it? In series and things like that. But I think that there's an element where they realise that they've pushed too far, and obviously the market has snapped back like an elastic band. You sort of pull too far or push too far, expect a really big snapback, and that's kind of what you've got now. A lot of people are just checked out from the entire industry. They've just gone, this is garbage. I'm just being lectured to non-stop. No, leave it alone, whatever. So at least he's going to be a man. He is going to be British. Now, whether that means he's going to be white British or not, who knows? But he should be white British, because he is white British in the books. That is what he is. And that's important. So, says this anyway, that rules out the fanciful speculation that the likes of Timothée Chalamet, Glenn Powell, Austin Butler, Jacob Elordi and others who don't hail from the UK shores are in the running. Frankly, 99.9% of the names we've heard speculated online so far won't make the cut. Now this is the other thing. Those in the know tell us the ideal approach is to cast an unknown, possibly in his late 20s or 30s, to play what Fleming called a blunt instrument. The lethal but extremely dull, uninteresting man to whom things happened. That's interesting. It's an interesting way to describe James Bond, isn't it? An uninteresting man to whom things happen. A blunt instrument. Extremely dull. That's really interesting. Because obviously there are certain things which I think works, you know, adapted directly. I think there are... Because, of course, you've had many years of James Bond adaptations, right? There becomes a quintessential version of James Bond in the eyes of people that have, one, read the books, and then also those that have obviously watched the movies as well. And a quintessential James Bond is anything but dull, right? Anything but uninteresting. You know, he is an interesting man. He sort of sidles up to the bar and asks for a drink, and, you know, just generally a bit of a, I don't know, bit of a misogynist, I guess. Kind of the point to the character. It's a bit of fun. So, yeah, interesting way to describe him. It's not how I would describe James Bond as a An extremely dull, uninteresting man. But okay, maybe they just mean physically. I don't know. You know, like traits and stuff. Anyway, so if that criteria is stuck to, that means favourites such as Tom Hardy, aged 47, Idris Elba at 53, and Henry Cavill, aged 42, presumably don't match what Villeneuve producers, David Heyman, and Amy Pascal, and executives at Amazon MGM Studios are leaning towards. Now, I mean, I think that's fairly understandable. I mean, if you're going to get someone in there like late 20s, early 30s, I mean, the point to that, the point to having someone at that age range is purely for longevity. So you can have them at least do 4 movies, like at the very least 4 movies, and you could do that quite comfortably, to be honest. You know, if they're in their late 20s, I mean, you could realistically you could have them play James Bond for like a decade and a half, maybe 2 decades, like late 20s. That would work, I think. Tom Hardy's still managing to do quite a lot of physicality. You've got Henry Cavill; he's doing quite a lot of physicality still. I mean, he is age 42, so not as old. But I think that works. I think that's fine. I don't see the issue with that. You still have to cast someone with an air of physical prowess. You know, a physique to a degree. They have to be physically imposing. To a degree, they don't have to be like built like a brick shit house, obviously. Not like the previous one had, you know, sort of build wise. So also consider that by the time Bond 26 begins shooting in 2027, both Aaron Taylor-Johnson and Jack Lowden will be 37 years of age. Will they be too old for Villeneuve? Probably. And again, they're not unknowns, are they? So that's the other thing. He wants unknowns. How rugged and imposing will this Bond be? Fleming describes Bond as being over 6 foot tall, even taller in his best German street brogues. Daniel Craig is shorter than that. Yeah, well, Daniel Craig was all sorts of nonsense for James Bond. I think that works. I think having him be a super tall bloke, yeah, like he needs to have a physical presence about him. But have a think about Stephen Knight's writing credits. A key source suggests, referring to the screenwriter picked to write the script for the Amazon MGM Studios production. Knight's work includes SAS Rogue Heroes, Peaky Blinders, and Eastern Promises, all of them featuring kick-ass, bone-crunching scenes. Quote, whoever it is has to look like he could kill you with his bare hands in a trice. From the moment you see him, that has to be readily apparent. A person close to the discussions tells us. Now that is definitely what you want in a James Bond. So online speculations and betting companies throw out names without thinking who Bond is. Knight will be going back to Fleming's earliest works, Casino Royale, Live and Let Die, Moonraker, Diamonds Are Forever, From Russia With Love, blah, 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 blah. To help remind us who Fleming's protagonist is, might the new Bond be more in the mould of the younger Sean Connery, who originated 007 in 1962's Doctor No? I think that works. I think there's Sean Connery-esque character works. Yeah, of course. Like, I think that's fine. There's a sense from the many conversations I've had that Knight's going back to Bond's beginnings as a Royal Navy commander before being recruited by MI6. So it's a full-blown origin story by the looks of it. The UK's Foreign Intelligence Agency to perhaps chart how Bond attained 007 status. I want to stress that this is what I'm hearing, but to caution that none of this is confirmed or fully formed because the script is still being written and the direction of travel is still up for grabs. I would not hate an origin story. It's never been explored before. I wouldn't hate that. Of all the things you could get an origin story for, I wouldn't hate a Bond origin. Bond could be played by a non-Caucasian, I ask sources. Could Bond be played by a non-Caucasian? And people responded he could, came the reply. Well, then he's not British then, is he, right? Like, that's Great Britain in terms of the UK. Britons were white, so that's just... I hate to break it to you. The English and British be Scotland, Scottish, Irish, Welsh. We're white, so he won't be British. He'd be a new British. As always, well, nearly always, it'll come down to this: are they right for Bond? Are they right for the story that Villeneuve and screenwriter Knight will be telling? So it also says this is worth pointing out that the obvious Bond 26 will not take up where No Time to Die, the final iteration of the franchise under Barbara Broccoli, left us, with Bond dead. It's a new Bond, a new start, a fresh everything, is how it was put to me by a key source who adds that it's unlikely many associated with the past Bond regime will be involved with Bond 26. That said, I suspect a few old Bond hands might well be consulted on the quiet in the snug of a private club in Pall Mall, London. So there you go. Apparently there's been a number of applicants already been sent to play Bond. Every name you've heard of and many you've never heard of. A well-placed mole revealed. We've been flooded, but understand that the casting process has not begun, and it won't until Denis finishes with the Dune movie. So, yeah, there you go. Short of it is, British actor, mid-20s, early 30s, good acting, gonna have to be quite tall, an imposing source to a degree. Apparently, the film will be released in 2028, with filming due to take place in 2027. So that's it. That's it. There you go. What do you guys think? Are you keen for it? Are you not? Let me know down below. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye now.